As you know, Disney is the Borg of entertainment, assimilating practically everything, including Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm, into a subdued, soulless mass entity. This month, Disney has managed the astonishing feat of all three of those studios releasing bombing content in a trifecta of trash. The Marvel series Secret Invasion holding the studio's lowest ever rating, Pixar feature Elemental opening to a studio record worst of $29.6 million, and Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the worst ever reviewed film in the franchise, expected to bomb on its opening weekend. Secret Invasion features Samuel L. Jackson as an even more grizzled version of his eye-patch-adorned Nick Fury, the show adhering to the Hollywood trend of taking legacy male characters, deconstructing them, and making them broken-down, world-weary versions of themselves. Stamp on your man. Give us more scenes to cringe to, and more shills to whinge to when cinemas are cold. Stamp on your man and show the world you've dissed them. Keep going till you shift them off the screen. This latest and all-encompassing debacle from Disney comes hot on the heels of lesbian and little person fantasy Willow getting shit-canned, sexually diverse fantasy adventure Strange Worlds flopping like a boxer coerced by the mafia into throwing the match in the first round, Peter Pan and Wendy bombing harder than an Oscar Wilde production put on in Uganda, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania sinking like a sunlight-averse stone in a Rings of Power analogy.
I'm such a dick.
The Little Mermaid crashing harder than cryptocurrency invested in the housing market, Pinocchio cratering like an extinction-level event asteroid, and Lightyear fizzling like a cheap damp firecracker. Behind the scenes at Disney, the $5,000 a weekend Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel shut down due to a lack of customers. Disney lost 4 million subscribers on D+ amid an exodus from the cricket-led Indian market.
Slip and play.
Rumored draconian boss Victoria Alonso departed amid a promotion fiasco, Christine McCarthy stepped down as chief financial officer, and LaTondra Newton was shuffled on from her role as head of diversity and inclusion. And all of this with the much maligned and much delayed The Marvels looming as another box office disaster, and Star Wars strip-mined of all magic and appeal under the rule of Kathleen Kennedy, who subjected the franchise to as much systematically heinous treatment as Ramsay Bolton with Theon Greyjoy, and with the more or less same dismal quality shows creating an illusion of choice, but all pumped out of the same factory, like the Duff Brewery.
Here we have Duff, Duff Light, and our newest flavor, Duff Dry.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 may have temporarily steadied the Marvel Cinematic Universe's lurching ship, but it hardly fixed its larger issues, a dearth of compelling A-list characters, and, just as vitally, a lack of real stakes. Post-Avengers Endgame, the MCU has felt underwhelmingly second-rate. The proliferation and indulgence with multiverses has made things existentially meaningless and allowed for contrived resets, resurrections, and narrative conceits. The runtimes have become bloated, and the allure of Marvel as a studio in popular culture has long since dimmed. Marvel seems unsure of where it wants to go, with a scattered focus and even struggling for a big bad now that Jonathan Majors is embroiled in legal troubles. Out of this malaise comes Secret Invasion, a 6-part Disney Plus series based on a comic book storyline of the same name. It attempts to meld old beloved standbys with new heroes and villains. Secret Invasion is, from the outset, a clunky and tedious show that cleaves to formula, characterized by lethargic performances, unengaging fight sequences, and huge swaths of exposition. It comes across as a generic genre exercise. The show opens in Moscow, where a former CIA agent turns up to a clandestine meeting with a colleague who informs him of the vast conspiracy he's uncovered. The Skrulls, the race of shape-shifting aliens who first arrived on Earth in the 1990s, are posing as humans in order to destabilize civilization. They have orchestrated a series of global terror attacks in an effort to bring about planetary chaos. Nick Fury is put down multiple times during the first episode, first by the character of Sonya, then by a Russian guy in a bar, and then by his friend Maria. He doesn't push back against any of these disparagements or the constant assertions that he has never been the same since the blip. Not knowing who is a Skrull ought to be enthralling, a trope of tension that can be brought to great effect, as in The Thing, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or even V. But here, there is no particular dread or anxious speculation. For decades, the revered animation studio Pixar could do no wrong, turning out commercial and critical hits at the box office. That all changed in the past several years, capped by the dismal debut of Elemental. The movie, a parable about immigration and getting along, bombed with a $29.6 million domestic debut, the worst three-day weekend start in the company's history, behind Pixar's first release, 1995's Toy Story. On paper, Elemental seems like the kind of inventive, visually dynamic project that has made the company such a consistent success. The formula is clear enough. Take an inanimate, even abstract thing, a toy, a car, a feeling, a human soul even, and personify it, usually as a talking blob, and build out a representational world. What's missing here is the execution, the studio's facility for establishing and developing a high-concept premise and lending it heart. Elemental makes a mess of the world-building in service of a conventional story that fails the animators, issues compounded by skittish pacing and flat writing. Elemental is set in a world where the natural elements of earth, fire, water, and air coexist in a metropolis evoking New York, working human-like jobs and having human-like relationships, with each element representing a different social class. The film aims high with a central metaphor, but is drawn off balance by its imposition of identity politics, with Element City analogous of racial inequality. Socially privileged water people flow back and forth through high rises, while fire people are sequestered to Firetown, where their tight-knit community mainly reflect East Asian and Middle Eastern cultures, and accents range from Italian to Jamaican, Iranian, and West Indian, positioning fire as representative of basically all immigrants, and water as representative of a white upper class. Rounding out Disney's trifecta of trash is the imminent Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the product of the company's strategy that the most savvy way to recover from an Indiana Jones sequel no one wanted or asked for was to produce another sequel that no one wanted or asked for.
Doing precisely what we've done 18 times before is exactly the last thing they'll expect us to do this time.
Starring a supporting character no one other than Kathleen Kennedy would find appealing, played by an actress no one has any particular enthusiasm for in Phoebe Waller-Bridge. With a runtime more than half an hour longer than Raiders of the Lost Ark, languishing after a poor reception at Cannes, which was a strategic promotional blunder in the first place, and expected to grind out a mere $60 million on its opening weekend, almost certainly costing the company a small fortune. And the consequences for this worst ever month? Almost certainly nothing. Old pappy, homely cardigan-wearing Bob Iger will never move on Kathleen Kennedy. Showrunners will continue to disproportionately base the inception and development of projects on identity politics ahead of originality and immersive quality, and the MCU will continue to flounder. Is there any hope of Disney turning things around after this worst ever month?
Let's just say we've got a few ideas up our sleeve.
Like what?
All right, we don't have any ideas for the future.